If you're feeling overwhelmed and always tired, lack of focus, lack of productivity, depressed, anxious, I think you're going to really like this video because I was experiencing that to level 10. Struggling not only to do things that I was doing before, but do things half as fast, half as efficient. And couldn't put a finger on what it was I was doing. I was trying to do all these other things, add in more process, more discipline, more hours into the day. And all that was doing was just making it worse, literally compounding things and making it worse, where I had lost my energy and lost my ability to think. I burned myself out so bad. My brain was functioning on a level that was subpar at best. It wasn't just my brain in terms of like what productivity I could do and what kind of focus I had. It was just this overall well-being. Because I was so depleted and I had really no other options of adding more stuff to the plate, I had to start finding things again that I enjoyed doing. My brain started finding things that it wasn't able to find before because my creativity side had come into play, my right hemisphere of my brain, and all of a sudden my focus started increasing. My fun level started increasing, started cracking my wife up, again. That led me to kind of looking up and doing some research on things and found out that, when we're 5 years old, we use about 80% of our creativity. When we're 12 years old, we are using 2% of our creativity. And that continues all the way through adulthood. That's crazy numbers. And then also what happened in the middle of all that is I started actually dreaming again. And I started opening my mind up to what possibilities could actually happen with whatever the case was, for another business I wanted to start or another project I wanted to do or whatever the case was, where before I couldn't even fathom doing one more thing. I don't care how great it sounded. I couldn't even fathom doing it because my mind was like, you can't even do what you're doing already, dude. Why are you even thinking about trying to do more? But my brain was going there, and it built momentum where now I've got these thoughts in my head that I haven't had in a very, very long time, and I'm not getting any younger by any stretch. And you're not supposed to think like this when you get older because that's where your mind does start trapping you and start going, and that's usually from our environment. We're being taught, you're getting older now. You got to do this. You got to quit doing that. Who says you got to do all this stuff this certain way? And that's where we're trying to get our brains to. We're trying to get our brains back down to that kid mentality again, because where that kid mentality is and dreaming and daydreaming and letting yourself go to these certain places, that brings in that next level stuff. You hear all this stuff about the why factor and your passions and this and that. That's where that stems from. And it is vital. There's no Apple that would exist. There's no Tesla that would exist. There's no any of these incredible, companies that we have around us now. If we didn't have people like that going after those things and not hearing there's limitations for stuff, because the limitations truly are set by us or the people around us. So if you really want to get to that place of focus and productivity, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to give you some examples. I'm going to show you, because if I can do it from where I was, anybody can do this. So in order to activate that creative part of our brain, there's 4 feel-good hormones that are involved: endorphins, serotonin, oxytocin, and dopamine. Those are the ones that fuel the feel-good motivation, the feel-good positive emotion that make up that creativity part of our brains and the fun part of our brains. It's all interrelated. Endorphins. To know what these do is very important, because everybody's like, oh, give me the dopamine hits. That's all we look for now is dopamine hits. And it's sad because usually it's cheap dopamine, and dopamine is very, very powerful in a good way if it's administered correctly. If it's abused, it will flatline you, and it'll flatline your focus versus turbocharge it. It's designed to turbocharge your ability to focus and sustain focus over time. But if you just keep going, tang, tang, it's like those lab rats that they keep coming back to, like when they hook them up with drugs and they just keep, tapping until they freaking kill over. That's what people do now with, like, all these dopamine hits that we have readily available to us all the time, because we're not doing the correct dopamine. So we're getting these tap out dopamine hits that actually does the reverse. So let me explain. Endorphins. Endorphins are released during physical activity, stress, or pain. They bring out good feelings, good emotions, happiness with diminished discomfort. That's why when you like, runners or when you're working out or whatever, something very physical is taking place and you don't even feel the pain until after. And then after you're like, the next morning or even hours after you're like locked up or, you can't get out of bed. These override that because you feel so good, you don't even realize you're in the pain part. And then serotonin. These are producing the hits, the good hits, like family, friends, your pets. These are long-lasting type of hormones, and they affect your moods, your sleep, appetite, and overall feelings of well-being. Oxytocin is the love hormone. Social bonding, trust, relationships building, gives us the ability to connect with others. Dopamine, the reward hormone. It's linked to motivation and pleasure, and it's the focus turbo. If dopamine is correctly balanced, which I like to refer to as like the slow drip dopamine, instead of the big hit type of dopamine. The slow drip dopamine is unbelievable for your focus, unbelievable for your clarity, unbelievable for everything. It's one of the best things, which is that's why they call certain drugs dope, because it's like it's dope. Or you say something that's really cool, that's dope. That's dopamine. Dopamine is kind of like the holy grail of the feel-good hormones, right? When these are all handled correctly and administered, I like to call it administered because it's like, you're literally going in and getting your dose of these along the way throughout your life and your daily life. So this is why balance is so incredibly important. But it's balance, it's intentional balance. You gotta shoot for things to make these things happen, and they're very targetable. This is what we're going to talk about this to your daily routine, so that you can actually get these things all day long, and they build and they build and they build to the point where you turn into a feel good hormone producing machine. So what all these things enable you also do besides just focus and productivity: problem solving, strategic thinking, patience, persistence, all comes from the parts of the brain. Positive emotions, moods. Moods have everything to do with what gets done. Number one way to induce these hormones: play hard. And I'm not just talking about play hard when you're not at work. I'm talking about play hard while working or during work, whatever the case may be. A study at Brigham Young University, they took participants and put them together in teams and had them play collaborative video games together for 45 minutes. After just 45 minutes of playing these games together, on each task they were assigned to do thereafter, they were able to increase their productivity by 20% per task. They enacted these hormones, and by clearing the bank and the cache memory of a computer in your brain, start processing stuff again, it increased their productivity dramatically. And that's why you see companies like Apple's and Google's, they all have playgrounds in their facilities. They encourage not just the play, but the play together. That's the whole purpose behind this. And it's not just to have fun and feel good and have more focus and be more productive, but creativity. Creativity is like the number one thing, by the way, not just for creators or people that are, in that position of developing a new product or new idea, whatever the case. That's even the number one thing now they look for in like CEOs, CFOs. Creativity is required across the board, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, an employee, whatever. Creativity has a huge effect on how your brain, because that's really a brain functioning thing. It's not just oh, wow, he's so creative. It's how the brain is designed to work in order to find solutions, like problem solving, strategical thinking, all those things. That comes from the creative part of the brain. That's why it's so important that you have playtime in your work, and there's all kinds of ways to do this. Like, not everybody works in a big Google or Apple or a tech startup. Most people work at home today, and that's where I had to go. I work primarily from home, so and mainly because of my house. I'm just working on my house. I'm not working with my employees in my house. I'm usually by myself. So I had to come up with some of these little games that actually make the brain work just the same. And then you can collaborate with somebody else, even talking on the phone, dealing with your wife, or dealing with employees or customers, or whatever the case may be. You can turn one thing after another into game mode. The key is to be able to activate these hormones that put us in that creative mode. And even if it's not something during work or work related type of fun, other things that you do to activate the brain. My wife and I started doing this thing that's hilarious. So we've been married for 36 years. She's like, well, let's do something fun with a date night, just something interesting. I was like, all right. I said, can I come up with the idea? And she said, yeah. So, all right, well, we have a 2-story house. I basically occupy the whole upstairs. I got an office, got this, what I call the studio. I have a workout area. She's always downstairs doing her thing. This is all during the workday. So I had this little idea. I was like, it'd kind of be fun to act like we're single. And so we saw each other at the mailbox, and we've been checking each other out. And she's got her own. She does soap. She has a soap company, and I do what I do. And so I said, let's just say we're two hardworking people that have no time to date. We see each other at the mailbox. What's up? Checking each other out. Why don't you come on up and have a dinner, sometime with me? And the only rule of the game was you cannot act. You can't bring up anything from history that we know together. You can't act like we have any understanding of each other's lives yet. I think I blew her mind because I went so deep that she was looking at me a couple times like, would you really say that to me? If I said it to you, I would be saying it. So then I brought her into my studio and showed her my studio where I record things and all that. And she's showing her stuff. I look over and she's just kind of looking at me with a smile. I was like, so what's up? She's like, nothing. And she kind of dug it. But that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Using that creative part of your mind to think out of that different part of your brain. Because not only does it apply wherever you are, whether you're at work or with outside of work or whatever, it's a lifestyle thought. It's a lifestyle you're trying to create in your head again. So you're not living in that same old world every day. You got to think outside the box. And that's the only way you're going to think outside the box is if you live outside of the box. So that's what we're creating. Going back in your workspace, what you surround yourself with in your office. The key to this is to have things around you that really inspire you, that make you become the person you need to be in that space while you are working. For me personally, I don't put any family photos in there. It is all about my world in there because I become a different person when I go in my office. I got to get focused on what I'm doing and I got to figure out something, or I get frustrated and I need to get inspired. I need to get some motivational, inspirational energy. I can look around in my office and see things that trigger things that are even from my past or my recent, that make me inspired and think in such a way that I can think through my day no matter what is happening. Now, my family is incredibly important to me, number one. But in my office space, I don't do the family photo thing. I gotta have the things that trigger my head to go get it, go beast mode, go motivational mode, go intellectual mode, whatever the case is. I gotta have that. I gotta have that surrounding me. So when I look around, that's what I see. Whatever it is, it has to be something that actually starts out of the part of your brain. That's why I don't have them in there. I'm not trying to go back to that same part of my brain. When I go in my office, I'm trying to get outside of that. And I change it around when I need to, just so I can continue to keep my brain working in that fashion. And for weekend stuff, be the weekend warrior person, I don't know, CrossFit, pickleball, craze, something that actually scares the shit out of you is very good, or pushes you past your normal limits. Something that you really enjoy doing, you're passionate about, but doing it at a level above where you typically are comfortable doing it. That's the thing, is we're getting out of our comfort zone, because when you do all these things and you step outside the comfort zone and you stress your body, that releases all these good hormones that we want to release as well. And not only does it do all that, but it actually helps you fight aging. It actually makes your body generate things within itself to fight off things. So and think about it like this. There's the acai berry, right? That's like the superfood berry. Acai berry is very potent and powerful for one reason mainly. It is grown out of the rainforest, and the rainforest is like the jungle of everything that can possibly come after you, right? That thing has to fight off all kinds of insects, animals, this, that. So it becomes a super strong plant that has this super strong antioxidants and all these things in it, so that when we actually eat those things, they give us a lot of those same things. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to create our bodies to do, is have these things that we're fighting off against around us in a purposeful way, like cold baths and all that kind of stuff. Those things inactivate the things that we're trying to activate in our bodies, so that we have that fight power, that we have that feel good power, that we have that release the hormones that we want to release power. And then rituals. Rituals are huge. If you have things you're going to go in your office to do that you're either resisting or not necessarily excited to go do, have some kind of ritual that gets you kind of pumped up and override that. Whether it's music, putting earphones on. That's what I love to do, is put my earphones on and listen to certain types of music that gets me motivated or gets me kind of fired up, or whatever the case may be. Breathing exercises can do that. Meditation does that. If I got to get quick energy, sometimes I'll run my stairs in my house, or drop down and do push-ups, whatever I got to do to get the blood flowing through my body again. So use rituals These may not sound great fun or whatever, but they induce these hormones. These hormones aren't just induced by fun things or just stressful things, but breathing things, pleasurable things like listening to music, whatever the case may be for you. Picking up, some people like to pick up a guitar or something, play guitar for a minute. Just tune into that world that gets you into a place that you can program yourself into, kind of on call, as you need to. It all really comes down to controlling your environment to some degree, controlling your emotions and setting your own mood. The only reason I am on this juiced up power right now is because I want to make this good. I want to make this good for you because this stuff's been very powerful for me, and I'd love to share stuff like this. I was drop dead tired like 3 hours ago, and then I ate. My wife's like, dude, what are you doing? You're going to be like out. You're going to be going to the bed. And then I said, well, let me tell you what I'm going to be talking about. And so just talking about what I'm talking about with you right now got me fired up. I didn't get this fired up, but now I'm like sweating. It's crazy just because but I love this subject. I love this stuff because it has had such a personal effect on me and it gets me amped up. I mean, I start spitting and shit. Number two, create the character. This is what and who do you want to be? Whether or not you're that person right now or not does not matter. You're going to create the character you're going to be, you want to be, going to rise up to. Identity shifting is when you say, I'm not going to act as if, I'm going to be as if, before you've even gotten there. So let's say, just for simplicity's sake, surfing is a good one I've used before because it's so perfect. When I was a kid and started to surf, I had all these friends that had these older brothers that were surfers, and I would watch them. I'm like, man, that's really cool. I love the whole vibe of this surf thing. So, I went out and bought a board, got the wax and the baggies and all this stuff. I was just a little kid, and just the whole scene of that, like I just was like, I just took it on. I was like, man, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a surfer now. And I started surfing like that. And because of that, I became a pretty good surfer. And it literally was my identity for some time, that I just was like all about this. I want to be a surfer. So I just did whatever I had to do to learn about surfing. I'd go to the surf shops on the way home every time, eventually getting on a surf team and just hang out in that environment, man. And just had surf posters all over my walls and boards like I do now. That's what identity shifting is. So if it comes to a profession that you're stepping into, be that professional before you even get to the point of being an expert or whatever the case may be. Step into that identity, own that, and create that character and live that character, because it not only does it develop you 10 times faster in what you're trying to become, and what you're being, I should say, but it also makes you better at it while you're doing it. It makes you more invested in it. It makes you work out that part of your brain that you need to work yourself out. And it creates a whole different level of nervousness, feel good things, all the hormones that we talk about, does all of that while you're actually learning at the same time. Perfect combo. Dr. Stuart Brown, who is the founder of the National Institute of Play. What a cool thing to be a founder of, right? He says there's 8 play personalities. The collector, which is obviously the guy that like collects things like coins, cards, watches, surfboards, whatever the case is. And then the competitor, the person that's very competitive in whatever she or he does, kind of got that competitor mentality. The explorer who likes to venture out, go on adventures and do fun and exciting things, go on different trips. And the creator is almost anybody, but a creator, the person that likes to make things, physically learn to make things or the ideas or whatever the case is. Creator. The storyteller speaks for itself. Somebody likes to tell stories and get into that world and that art of storytelling. Storytelling is a phenomenal skill to have. It applies to almost anything you can do, whether you're owning a business, being in sales, being a parent, whoever, just an interesting person in general. The Joker, we know who the Joker is. I'm not talking about the guy on Batman, but the Joker who likes to play tricks on people and do funny things and have fun with people and mess with them and all that kind of good stuff. Then you got the director, sitting in the director chair, directing the whole group and telling everybody what to do. Got a lot of those around. And then the athlete, the person that likes to play sports, finds joy in playing sports, activities, things of that nature. So those are the 8 play personalities. And everybody fits in one of those categories, at least one of them, if not more of them at one time. So those are the play characters you can kind of work from, I guess is the best way to put that. And then expand on that and become that character, create it and become it. Number three, lowering the stakes. That's basically lowering the entry barrier to whatever it is you need to do. Lowering the resistance. Motivation is a huge piece of the pie, obviously. You want to be motivated and driven to do stuff, but you also just want to reduce resistance to the things that you either want to do or you need to do. You make it super simple to get started. This is about getting started. A lot of times we don't want to do certain things, so we avoid it and do whatever we have to do to just not start doing the thing that we're really needing to do. So if we lower the stakes, and let's just say, for example, you got to do something to do with taxes. I hate taxes. Or to do something with a certain type of spreadsheet that's just about numbers you don't really enjoy. Make it super easy to get started with it. I'm just going to do the first part of this. I'm just going to do, one section of it, one piece of it, whatever you want to call it, and just do that one piece. 80% of the time, once you start doing that and getting that going and getting a little bit of a flow with it, it's like, all right, well, I might as well. I got a little more done than I thought I was going to do, so I'm going to do the next thing. And then you just kind of keep going like that. And if you're having one of those days where you got some big D kind of energy stuff going on, you're like, I'm going to, kill the world this week and I'm going to do this, and my light just went out and whatever. You're going to take care of all these things you're going to knock out, but you're just really struggling. And the worst thing you can do is not do anything, right? Just do the small things. Have a small list, an easy list that you can knock things off of, and just crush those small things. Just build up momentum from the little small things. Do the things you can do. Those are also just lowering the stakes, because you're actually getting something done, or you need a portion of that big D energy thing you're going to go do. Just do a piece of it, just some part of it, just so that you don't lose absolute progress. And progress in a way that you can is more than just, I made progress. Is I actually did something I didn't want to do. Working out. I get, since my injuries, I have a lot of resistance sometimes to going to work out, because my body I feel body pain, so it just doesn't feel good to go work out. So I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in the gym and I'm going to do like 20 reps of super lightweight. 80% of the time, if not more, once I start doing some of those exercises and get some stuff done and get a little bit of pump going, a lot of times that reduces some of the pain, just getting the warm up and all that kind of thing. Man, but sometimes I have my best workouts I ever have. I may not be doing the most. I don't try to do big weight anymore, to be honest with you, but getting a workout in and I'm overcoming that resistance to it. That is so huge. I can have like what would be maybe considered a 6 workout out of a 10. But I did not want to do it. I mean, I literally was in the parking lot going, I don't want to do this. I'm actually still following through and do it. When I walk out of that gym after doing that, that is like killing it. That is killing it. I don't care if I did 20 pounds for 40 reps, for 3 sets, whatever. I did it. And the fact that I didn't want to do it makes me feel so much better that I actually did it. So that's what you're trying to do, is just take any of those resistance things that are coming at you, and just, instead of just completely just saying, screw it, I'm not going to do anything, do something. Do enough of it that you really do feel good about the fact you did it. And then it rolls into something else for that day or the next day. And then you can, in the day, go, all right, I did. That is so big. That's so big to be able for me just to do that, like mark it off the list, is like kicked it, done. One trick that I've learned that actually works really, really good too. Let's say you don't want to do something. There's something you're really needing to do that day and it sucks. It's just like this mundane, boring, difficult, whatever the case may be. You just don't want to do it. Take a third person approach to this and pretend like you're trying to get some teenager to do something that doesn't want to do anything, right? And you want to make it fun for them. So you're like, what would I do to make that fun for this kid that doesn't want to do anything? And I'll just say kid, because that's kind of the mentality you got to take, because sometimes we are like adult children. What would I do, to make this kid want to do this? Something you would do as an adult, but still kind of kiddish. Throw everything at that kid that you would throw at them to get that done. And a reward at the end of it when it's all said and done. Like you get to go, go kick off at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock and you're done for the day. Whatever the case is, use that third person mentality approach to it to get yourself talked into doing it. Acting like you're telling somebody else, but then turn around and put it on yourself and go, what would make me really want to do this? There's some kind of reward for it. Get to go out with the boys tonight, get to go out with the girls tonight, whatever the case is, just to do that thing, incentivize yourself to do that thing like you would do to some kid who does not want to do what it is you need to get them to do. It works. I've done it to myself multiple times and it's hilarious, but it actually does get me to go, you know what? It's not that difficult. let's just do this. Let's just knock it out. It's difficult, but it's not like the kind of thing that's going to knock me down. And I'm going to make it fun. I'm going to do something out of control tonight, whatever case is, and make it fun so that I can do it. And last but not least, one of the things I like to do is if my day has like a list of things to do. I start a lot of times with, you hear some people say, start with the hardest things in the morning. Well, if you're really good in the morning and you're the most motivated and all that, do that. Do whatever works best for you. But sometimes for me, I got to start with the easier things so I can build my momentum. So I'm like, I want to do that check off list kind of a thing. So I start with the simplest things I know I'm not going to have any resistance to, very low resistance to, and I'm going to start doing those first. And then once you get about 3 or 4 of those things done, you're like, all right, I got some momentum going. I'm going to roll into this next one. It's using psychology to trick yourself into it, but it works extremely well. And the more you build on it and continue to do it, it continues to work more and more. And it rolls into the next day, to the next day, to the next day. Coming down to things, getting simple things done and goal things done. I have this do more in 12 weeks than most people do in 12 months. Another video I'll put tagged below here. Very easy process to getting goals done in short amount of times. Same thing, low entry barriers, makes it happen and keeps you on track so you can measure the progress along the way. It works fantastically. I think you'll really enjoy it, and most importantly, I think it'll be very effective for you. So remember, play hard. Put the play into the work so that your mind starts working on the different places it has to work from, and getting things going and taking a different approach to things. Create the character. Be that person, man. You want to make that, whatever that character is you want to step into, that real person that you want to be, you want to create that character. Find the way to get into that character and be that character. Don't pretend you're going to be that character. Be that character. Take it full serious. Be that character. And then lower the stakes. You got to lower the entry barriers, man, so that you can get into the game. Once you get into the game, be surprised how easy sometimes you pick it up and you can start playing like a baller by the time the game's over. So those are your 3 tips. Hope it goes well. Burned out my lights. Went a little longer than I thought I was going tonight, but you know what? Hopefully it all worked out for the better for you, and see you next time.